Good evening, listeners. I'm your host, Sheba Rakesh, welcoming you to yet another edition of the English program. For each one of us, language plays a very important role in expression, in bonding, and indeed, it won't be an exaggeration to say that it veritably acts as the glue unto life. With the advent of modern tools of communication, artificial intelligence, and more, language in itself has undergone several changes. What have those changes been, and what has been the impact of those changes and more will be discussed today with Dr. Shirley Jain from the Department of English, Isabella Thoburn College, Lucknow. Dr. Shirley Jain, we welcome you to the studios of Akashvani, Lucknow.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sheba. It's a privilege to be here.
Let me start by asking you then, Dr. Saab, what to you is the importance of language? Because it hurts to admit, but the younger generation is quite blissfully unaware of the importance of language, and some of them consider it quite a status symbol to revel in linguistic ignorance or impurity.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Sheba, because even I have felt this change from my growing years to now that I am in the profession, that I also see this great change. We were more formal, and language is a very living thing, I feel, that undergoes a lot of change. It undergoes a lot of metamorphosis. And the beauty of a language is that even if it undergoes a change, it should always entail the cultural heritage and the traditional sanctity of it. That is very imperative for a language. But unfortunately, with the new trends that are coming in, the sanctity of language, I feel, is being diluted. Diluted to the extent that I do not say that one should always be formal, but there has to be a kind of a decorum that the language carries with it. And when that decorum is missing, I feel, yes, people are using language, losing that sanctity, that decorum, and they use it so carelessly. The words are used extravagantly without giving thought, because words carry such a lot. It not only is a medium of communication from one person to the other. Your words, your language is actually communicating your idea, your thought, your feeling, what is there deep down in your mind, deep down in your heart. And so it is a reflection of your character, of yourself. And believe me, self, I feel, is actually, you impact through yourself. Multiple people are impacted. And so your language also is there in that continuous process of impacting generations, of impacting people who come into contact with your language. So we should definitely be mindful of our speech, of our tone, and most importantly, the choice of words. Our vocabulary has a marked impression on lives, on people, because this is how we are transmitting that legacy to further generations. If we falter, if we dilute it, if we lose that essence of a language, then I do not. Earlier, as we see, like since I'm from the English background, English literature I teach, so I would say we see that when we were teaching earlier in the 15th, 16th century, English language is very different. Language is very archaic, we would say. Over the time, over the centuries, it has evolved. It has come to a more comprehensible medium. And now from here, if we take it, I admit the Gen Z, they have their new vocab, their new word structure. But I feel that it is okay as long as it doesn't make the other person feel intimidated, as long as it doesn't create a generation gap, as long as one should not feel ignorant. Because this Gen Z also, I feel that, they are using language, as Dr. Sheba, you said that they revel in linguistic impurities. Although the Gen Z may think that this is not impure because they may think that it's very cool to be using these words. But somewhere I feel that there has to be a formality, and being cool is not about using anything that most people do not understand. What about those people who are from the same age group but are not exposed to that kind of language? So for them it becomes actually a deterrent to socially interact because they lose confidence. So I feel that yes, the younger generation has to be more mindful because they have a responsibility to shoulder what has been given to them and what they are going to take forward.
Absolutely. Dr. Saab, you talked about linguistic formality and how we as carriers of language have to be more responsible in the way we use it. What is your take then on digital language?
Digital language actually is the source of the new modern Gen Z terms that I feel that they have used, because digital language is it's not formal. It's not what should I say, it actually it misses on the structure, the syntax, which is so important once a person actually advances in life. Because at this age, everything is okay. I mean, you can do with these things. But that, that structure, actually, I feel that depth, because what you speak, you will eventually write. So what you speak today, you cannot, I'm sure, not put it into formal written words, and formality would actually not be acceptable in that.
And so it fails to penetrate the heart and soul of the other person reading it or connecting with it.
Absolutely. Secondly, like in Hindi we say arth ka anarth hona. The digital language also actually poses that great problem, because we see like students today when we see around us, we see that they are lacking in spellings, they are lacking in pronunciation, because they have taken up these new terms. And if you ask them the spelling, what do these terms mean, they'll only give you the meaning of what these terms mean to them. But otherwise, there could be multiple layers of those words which are inappropriately used.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And language, as you said, is an indicator of one's personality. Language is also an indicator of one's progress. So then, with the Gen Z or the millennial generation more prone to use digital language, which lacks formality, lacks a sense of responsibility, and is more careless or extravagant, as you said, what are then the career options available to a youngster if one takes care of one's linguistic abilities?
If we consider English, supposing if I talk about English, so there are multiple career options one can take actually, but it is such a limited scope as in it's so limited in thought that people think that humanities and English, you have only few careers, like you can become a teacher, or you can become a professor, or you can actually go into journalism. But the options are multiple, because you need this language everywhere. It is a global language. You come anywhere, you come into MNCs, you come into newspaper, you come into radio, you come into TV, you can get into proofreading, you can be editors, and most importantly translators. Today, in today's time, translation is taking such a strong impetus there is on translation work. And if you are good in translation, if you have an idea of, actually the role is that if you know so many languages, it is so beautiful, because languages actually, it has an aesthetic about itself. And the more you know, the more you grow, the more you are able to interact in your social in your social spheres. You're a very successful person in your social spheres. So I feel that the career options are great in this field, because as I mentioned a few, of course, professorships and teachers are definitely, and good professors and good teachers are really, there is a dearth of this. Journalism is such a wonderful field. If you are creative enough, if you have that thought, if you have a fluency of language. In today's digital times, the youngsters are more digitally prone. So for today, you have so much content writing work, you have so much, blogging and stuff. So you have such a lot of opportunities today. I feel that apart from this, when we see why can't English be used as a medium to understand? There could be a study on this actually, the psychological impact on speaking, non-speaking English groups. Because
Yes.
this is so very, very important, I feel, because when we see students who are unable to converse, or, they understand it, but they are so intimidated conversing in English because of their, so-called,
Inhibitions.
linguistically elite, you may call them.
Right.
Right. So there could be a study on this, like taking up the language.
You got me to my next important question. And when you talked about non-English speaking people and English being considered as an elite language, Hindi or English, the debate is never ending.
Both are very, very, every language, Hindi as well, English. English for us is a second language. It's not our mother tongue. It could be our mother tongue, but it's not your first language. From the core, we are, the Hindi people, right? And we cannot actually omit that fact. And due respect to English, due respect to all languages. A language should be actually a medium of, joining together with individuals, a medium where you interact not only in a formalistic way, but also, with a language should carry empathy, I would say. Empathy towards the listener, empathy towards the culture, being more open.
Another very important point that comes to my mind here is Hindi definitely is our mother tongue, and we generally tend to converse more in Hindi. We tend to think in Hindi. We tend to, write in Hindi and read in Hindi as well, and speak in Hindi and converse with each other. Why is it that English is not considered as bonding a language as Hindi? Am I are people wrong or are people right?
Actually, Hindi bonds people because you have a masses of audience which can relate to Hindi. But English again, and it's very sad, I'm very sad to say this, that many a times we see that people who are speaking English distance themselves from the non-English speaking group. Especially in youngsters, I may say this, languages need to bridge the gap. Many a times we see that people who are speaking English, the non-English speaking group would either, they would drift away, they would, kind of shy away, they would feel there's some kind of, either they would feel inferior, or they may feel that, I do not, match up to the level that they are speaking. And so most of the times, they get left out. That is one thing. And secondly, on the other hand, the English speaking people also, sometimes they are very broad-minded. They do not want to actually kind of flaunt their language or their linguistics abilities with
Absolutely.
you. But actually, it's taken in the wrong light. They actually are seen in a different perspective. So which is very, very untrue. For every language, when we are speaking in a group, we actually want that people should come together, should be able to interact there as a group. It's not meant only for a target few people. Many times we see this with the regional languages. In regional languages, when people are speaking, there would be a person who does not know. Many of us do not know so many regional languages, but we see that, people from different regions, they are speaking in their mother tongue. Whereas there are other people in the group who are not, accustomed to that language. So it makes them feel very ignorant or very, sidelined kind. So that should also be taken care while using both the languages. But English is not a language to be, scared of. It is very important to speak a language. It is very important to convey your thoughts. It doesn't matter if it is, grammatically a little incorrect, or if you're not up to the mark that, the so-called English people would actually think your grammar, your vocab. It's not about that, because it's a flow of thought. It's a flow of ideas. And there could be, breaks. There could be, speed breakers there in your language, which is perfectly fine.
In today's edition of the English program, we had with us Dr. Shirley Jain from the Department of English, Isabella Thoburn College, Lucknow. Dr. Jain, thank you for joining us today and highlighting the importance of linguistic purity and the use of good language in life for our listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Shiba. Wonderful being here.